Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Off the Cuff here at Oswego City Hall. We've had a very active month, so we'll get right to it here. The month started off with late August, early September, the SUNY community moving back to getting ready to start the semester. Because of that move back, we actually did our annual code enforcement blitz. Typically, we do that back in the spring when college kids are moving out and they stockpile their old furniture, garbage, and debris in the front lawns and then leave town. But because of COVID back in the spring, made for an abrupt end to the semester, we didn't need to do the blitz then, so we ended up doing it, partnering code enforcement with the Oswego Police Department when the students came back to town, and we used it as an opportunity to go door to door and tell the students and off-campus residents what we expect in terms of code enforcement and property maintenance rules and regulations. Also, late night disturbances, so we teamed up the police department with the code enforcement office to include some of those rules and guidelines as well. And then we also took the opportunity to give them information on what we expect when it comes to COVID and social gatherings, mass gatherings, so on and so forth. And as you've probably seen, we've done several details every weekend to make sure people aren't having mass gatherings and are social distancing to try to mitigate the increase in numbers that we're seeing. So that blitz is actually still going on. We have another weekend to do it here, and we'll be releasing the results from the code enforcement blitz once it's over, and I'll be posting that on social media, so you can actually see the properties that were in violation and the ones that were corrected. So be on the lookout for that. In the last month, we also demoed 3 residential homes. All 3 were on the west side, 2 in the 3rd ward, 1 in the 5th ward. Every year we try to demolish 2 or 3 homes that are dragging down the neighborhood that they're in. So we identified these 3 homes throughout the summer, took them down, and now we actually have 2 different neighborhoods that have a lot less blight, and we'll try to take those parcels and make better use of them in the next year or so. Back on September 11th, I'd like to remind our constituents that we unveiled a new memorial honoring those we lost on September 11th, so please stop by the Oswego Eastside Fire Station to check out the new memorial. Every year we do our silent procession at 6 a.m. on State Route 104 on September 11th, and then we follow that with an 8 a.m. Memorial ceremony at the Eastside Fire Station. And this year it was extra special because we actually unveiled the memorial. Quite a few years ago, the fire department requested a piece of steel from one of the World Trade Centers that went down to be used for memorial. The city secured that, and it arrived here in 2015, and it actually just sat in the fire museum for all these years. And then finally Chief Griffin had the idea to actually get it out of the fire museum and create a permanent memorial that the public can actually stop by and acknowledge, and to remember 9/11 and those we lost, and honor our first responders as well. So with the help of the DPW and Commissioner Tom Kells, we built a beautiful memorial. It has a fountain on it, and the piece of steel, again, is from one of the Twin Towers. Based on the width of the steel, it's estimated it was from approximately the 50th floor from one of the towers, and it was recovered from ground zero. And actually it was housed in a hangar at JFK Airport because it was considered evidence for many years. And then once it was released and not considered evidence because the investigations were completed, then some of these pieces were pieced out to fire departments all over the country to use as memorials. So we were lucky enough to get one. I'm sure it was in high demand back when it was first being released, but we got one, and we're putting it to good use. So if you haven't seen it, take a drive by the Eastside Fire Station on Cayuga Street, check it out, and feel free to say a prayer or remember those we lost, not just on 9/11, but any time of the year. We also are about to start a second round of paving in the city of Oswego. Normally we do most of our paving in the spring, which we did this year, but we're also having a second round of paving to clear up all the sewer separation road construction that we did. So rather than just spot paving like the city's done in previous years, we're actually doing curb to curb paving in the construction area. So you'll see several streets from West 2nd Street to West 6th Street, from Bridge Street to Cayuga Street, Seneca Street, Schuyler Street, even Lake Street in a couple of cases being paved in the coming days and coming weeks, so be on the lookout for that construction. We had a popular announcement this month as well that I'll quickly brush over. It was the river dock installation being put in the along the West Linear Riverwalk. What the river dock allows us to do is it will allow boats to finally tie up to the West Linear Riverwalk. You may remember some years back this was popular, particularly during Harborfest, but conditions have never really been favorable to do that. Boats get damaged, the current's too strong, people can't easily get on land. And when we did our boater feasibility study, you hear me reference when we do these waterfront projects, a major complaint was boaters didn't have easy access to the Riverwalk and the riverfront, and obviously a big part of our downtown revitalization initiative was to tie our waterfront, including the river and the linear walkways, to our core downtown area. So installing the Riverwalk near the Cahill building up in the veteran stage will allow that easy, safe access so boaters can actually come up into the river, get off, and get into our core downtown easily. Also, we have our concerts normally at the Water Street Square in the Veterans Concert Park, where we're trying to attract boaters to come in and visit while those concerts happen. That construction will take place here in about the next month. We'll be repairing all the sidewalks that collapsed in the area, and we will be moving the railing back and creating that dock space area for the boaters to tie up without being damaged. So be looking for the construction there, and I think that'll be, particularly next spring and summer, that'll be used once the area becomes much more desirable and easy to use. So very exciting about that, and I think on social media and with the public you saw a lot of excitement around that project. It'll be a bit of a different year with Halloween. A lot of people are still uncomfortable to go door-to-door trick-or-treating, so in light of that, the City Youth Bureau worked with the Oswego Speedway to come up with a unique, fun event. It'll be a drive-through trick-or-treating event at 1 p.m. on Halloween, which is a Saturday, where vehicles can actually line up on City Line Road and in the back road of the Speedway, and they'll be allowed onto the track and go around the track, and organizations, volunteers, businesses will be handing out candy while people stay in their cars. We'll have some music, some folks dressed up to try to scare some people on Halloween and trying to make it a fun event. So that's a unique way. It's a free event for people to still trick or treat in this time we're living in, where you can stay in your vehicles, be socially distanced, and be safe if you aren't comfortable going door to door. And then lastly, I'd like to remind people the census. If you haven't filled out your census, you should do so by October 31st. The City of Oswego right now is at about a 62% rate, so we need to bump that up some. A lot of funding relies on it that comes to New York State, to Oswego County. Also, the number of congressional seats our state gets. It's very important that as many people fill out those forms as possible. So 62%, we can do a bit better here through the next month, so please fill out the census, and there's a link to that on my Facebook and social media pages. So that's a quick summary. We have another busy month coming up. We're looking forward to that, and I'll talk about what we do in the next month with you on the next edition of Off the Cuff next month. So thanks for tuning in. I look forward to talking to you next month.